listeners, and welcome to Freckles and Blondie, a podcast devoted to delving into all the mysteries of Lost. I'm Randy.
And I'm Tiffany.
And today we're discussing Season 1, Episode 12, Whatever the Case May Be. This episode was written by Damon Lindelof and Jennifer Johnson. It was directed by Jack Bender, who I think we've said before is kind of like the go-to director for Lost. He's directed The Moth and Walkabout and Tabula Rasa. And this episode originally aired on January 5th, 2005. So this was the first episode back after the holidays.
It's a good one to come back on, I think.
Yeah. It's a solid episode.
Yeah, I liked it. I enjoy Kate episodes a lot, and I know a lot of people don't. Like, I hear that a lot, that people find Kate's story boring, but I don't see how that's possible, because she has such a crazy story.
Yeah, she does. I like her episodes too, most of the time.
I just find her interesting, because I don't know what she's gonna do next, or I feel like her stories vary wildly.
Yeah, she's definitely a little bit unpredictable.
Yeah. And it relates well to what's happening on the island, too, which I like.
Yeah, we kind of had 3 different stories going on this week, and I think the way that they all kind of interweave with each other is fairly well done.
Yeah, I agree. It's not an episode that wows me like some of them, but I like it.
Whenever I think about this episode, it's never one of my favorites. And I realized that watching it this time, it's because of everything that happens with Jack and Kate, which I really don't like.
Right.
That's kind of my issue with this episode. Other than that, it's pretty good.
Yeah. I mean, the stuff that happens with Jack and Kate, I see why you don't like it. It's interesting though. It's like, it's good stuff, I think. I'm trying not to stomp on your Jack and Kate parade.
I know. I'm trying not to be too annoying about it.
They're so dramatic and they're so up and down. It's really Kate who I just find so intriguing. I'm like, why does she do the things she does? You know?
Yeah.
Because really this episode, she's in her own head. Mm-hmm. For so much of this, and Sawyer and Jack are kind of like dealing with her in their own ways.
Right. So true.
So it's just kind of interesting to see that juxtaposition between how each of them handles her.
Yeah. I'm not sure I really like how either of them handles her.
Yeah, I don't know if I like how any of the 3 of them handle any of each other.
Yeah, exactly. That's such a good point.
They're all kind of just disasters in their own way.
Yeah. By the end of this episode, I was like, come on, guys. One of the 3 of you needs to get it together.
I honestly, and I know you're going to disagree, but I feel like Sawyer handles himself probably the best of the 3 of them.
Yeah, I don't know if I would agree with that statement, but
he does a lot of nice things. Like,
oh, really? I can't wait to hear about these nice things.
Okay, well, they're right in the beginning, so we can just get right on into that.
All right, let's do it then. We open with a shot of the jungle. As the camera pans up, we see Kate up in a tree picking fruit. She climbs down and starts to walk away when she hears a noise. Kate brushes it off, but when she hears the noise again, she picks up a rock and throws it. She hits Sawyer in the knee. He says she shouldn't be out in the jungle alone, but Kate assures Sawyer that she can take care of herself.
Because he is so protective.
Sure. Or he's stalking her, which is another
If this were Jack, you would be like, it's so sweet, he's worried about her.
Yeah, but Jack wouldn't be doing it in this creepy way.
I don't know.
I don't know either. I just made that up. Sawyer is very funny in this scene.
Yes. Me, Kate. Me throw rock.
Yeah. That was a good line. I feel like He says son of a bitch in this episode so many times.
Yes, I wrote that down too. This has to be the episode that like solidified that as his saying.
Right. Which I find hilarious.
Yeah, because I haven't noticed it up till now.
I know, I don't think he's really said it up till now.
He does it so well.
Yeah, he does.
It's his good catchphrase.
Yeah. Kate hears the sound of rushing water, and they come across a secluded pool and waterfall. Sawyer immediately takes his shirt off and jumps in, and convinces Kate to do the same, saying they deserve something good after everything they've been through on the island. They swim and play around, and it's very flirty. However, as they're swimming underwater, 2 dead and very decomposed bodies appear. And with that mood killer, we cut to the opening title.
That definitely is a mood killer.
Yeah.
And yet both of them are pretty okay.
True.
If it's going to happen to any two people, I guess these two are going to handle it all right. Not be too traumatized by it. That's
a good point.
This scene is fun. I know you adore it.
No, I don't. It happens.
I enjoy it. I mean, I enjoy any scene where these characters are just kind of like cutting back and having fun. That's just so rare. And of course, this is Lost, so we're going to subvert that immediately with like these dead bodies.
Right.
But it's fun while it lasts.
Yeah. It's like, oh, you thought you were going to get a nice break in this opening scene? Just kidding. Here's dead bodies to ruin everything.
So, something that occurred to me literally like 20 minutes before we started recording this was that this episode is remarkably similar to Sawyer's episode in like a ton of ways.
You think so?
Yes. And Damon Lindelof wrote both of them. So I don't feel like this is a coincidence.
Oh.
Even the beginning, they both start with Sawyer and Kate, but it's not even just that. Kate is getting fruit in the beginning of both of them. And Sawyer is swimming around in both of them, only this one, Kate, like, joins him.
Oh, good point.
There are other scenes and things that make me think that, and I'll, like, try to remember to bring those up. But that's something that I don't know how I missed it before, but now I'm like, wow, these are so clearly connected.
Yeah. I never would have picked up on that. Wow. Interesting. Yeah, I wonder, because this episode, it said it was written by Damon Lindelof and Jennifer Johnson. So I always wonder when there are multiple writers, how that works. Like,
yeah,
if one person writes the whole thing and the other kind of gets feedback, or if they really do work together, or one person writes some scenes and one person writes other scenes.
Yeah. Well, and I would imagine that Damon Lindelof had so much he was doing that having somebody to help would be necessary.
Yeah.
Because he was just, his hands were all over Lost. But yeah, I do wonder the same thing. Like, is one person kind of proposing the storyline and the other person kind of writing out the details? Or how is that working?
Yeah, it's interesting. So coming back, Sawyer says he's going to check the bodies to see if they have anything useful, because he's Sawyer and that's what he does. They both dive back under, and Sawyer grabs the man's wallet. Kate spots the silver briefcase underneath the bodies and asks Sawyer to help her get it because it's hers. They manage to get it free and swim to the surface. When Kate starts to examine the case, Sawyer accuses her of lying. She says it's not her case, which is all the excuse Sawyer needs to take it. He says, "Is there something you want to tell me about this little suitcase, Freckles?" But Kate tells him she doesn't care and walks away.
Like he's gonna buy that.
I know.
You missed one of Sawyer's sweet moments, Randy.
Oh, okay. Please regale me with this sweet moment.
The first thing that he does when they come up from the dead bodies is he looks at her and he's like, "Are you okay?" And I was like, that's so nice.
Okay, but the second thing he does is, after he makes sure she's okay, he's like, "I'm gonna go see what they have on them."
Yeah, 'cause he's right.
No.
They don't need whatever they have.
But he takes the guy's wallet. What is Sawyer going to do with that?
There could be something in it.
No, there could be nothing in it. He's just so selfish.
Or maybe he wants to see who it is. I mean, there are a lot of reasons to do that.
No.
I am totally with him. I actually see zero problem with stealing things off of dead people.
How?
Why is that a problem?
Stealing things off dead people presents no issues for you whatsoever.
No, like in the pilot, Kate took boots off of the guy who was dead, and that was totally fine because she needed boots, and that guy clearly wasn't going to be using them.
Right, but it's the intent. Like, Sawyer isn't trying to take things to make... because he really needs things. He's just being selfish.
But how do you know that? Like, what if he had discovered, like, knives on this guy, and they, like, could use those for lots of practical reasons?
But it's just the way he says it. I mean, Kate's right. Sawyer's disgusting. I do not like this at all.
I literally see zero problem.
This is hilarious because it's these little moments that really bother me about Sawyer. It's just these little selfish moments. I'm just like, why is this the first thing you think of when you see dead bodies? Why are you like this?
That's so funny. Like, just, it doesn't even occur to me that there's anything wrong with that.
Tiffany, I find that unbelievable for
really?
you, but okay, yeah.
Like, I really don't understand. These people are dead. We should check and see if they have something useful for all these people who are surviving.
I mean, but they're dead. Like, have some respect. Like, if you found 2 dead bodies just in the woods, would you immediately check them over for something useful?
Yeah. If I'm stranded on a desert island, hell yes,
what?
I would.
That is crazy.
I think it'd be crazy not to.
But, like, they're underwater, so it's not like, I don't know.
I mean, they're gonna find very useful things out of this. I mean, those guns are important, and if they hadn't looked, they would not get any of this stuff.
But don't you think he should have at least taken, 60 seconds to just give some respect for these dead bodies they found before he dives back under
what
and
are
starts
they supposed to do?
like looting them for goods? Like, if I was my dead body, I wouldn't want Sawyer messing around with it.
Nope, I think it's totally fine. He came up and he was like, "Hey, Kate, are you okay?" She's like, "Yeah, I'm good." And he was like, "All right, let's go check this out." Zero problem.
Wow. Okay. Well, I have nothing more to say to that. But yeah, it is kind of crazy how these 2 bodies ended up all the way out here from the plane crash.
Yeah, I don't really understand that.
I don't either.
And they're so, like, perfectly intact, like, in the seats, and the seats just, like, broke away perfectly.
Right.
I don't see any other plane wreckage. It's weird.
Yeah, it's very strange. But I guess stranger things have happened on this show, so.
Do you think, like, anyone would believe Kate right now that that suitcase doesn't mean anything to her?
No.
Yeah.
I don't think so.
Yeah, it seems like pretty obvious that she's lying.
Yeah. She does a good job at the beginning, though, when she first tells Sawyer it's her case. And she tries to play it off like it's her case and she knows
yes.
what it's about.
Why do you think she gives it to Sawyer?
I think maybe because she doesn't want to get into the whole thing, where that case came from and how she knows about it.
Mm.
Because at this point, Jack and I guess Hurley are the only ones who know about her past, right?
Right, yeah.
So I guess I would think she's so afraid of people finding out about that she would rather just let Sawyer take it and not seem too concerned about it, you know?
Right. Like, allow people to think that Sawyer found this.
Right.
Not her.
Right. Exactly.
Yeah, that makes sense. At first I thought that, like, she just didn't know how to open it and thought she would let Sawyer try to figure it out first and then take it from him. But I think your theory makes more sense.
Yeah.
Especially in watching the whole thing when you know she knows where the key is.
Right, exactly. At the beach, the survivors are struggling to save their luggage before it gets washed out to sea by the rising tide. Jack and Saeed talk about how the tide rising so quickly seems unnatural. Saeed wants to move further up the coast, but Jack suggests they move to the caves. Saeed doesn't think this idea will be too popular after what happened to Claire. Jack then tells Saeed to take him to Rousseau so he can ask her about the others she mentioned. But Saeed shoots him down, saying Rousseau is insane. He says the whispers he heard in the jungle were just the wind and nothing more. Jack asks him about the maps and other diagrams Saeed stole from Rousseau, but the notes are in French and Saeed is having trouble translating. He says some things are probably best left alone, but Jack tells him to tell Charlie that, who's sitting on the beach, alone and silent. Poor Charlie.
Oh, yeah. He's just the picture of sadness.
Yeah, I guess he's moved back to the beach now, after what happened to Claire, which is also kind of sad.
Yeah, I hadn't thought about that, but I guess he has. I wasn't sure if why he was on the beach. I didn't really think about it.
Yeah, I just read it as maybe he doesn't want to be in the same place where Claire got taken.
Yeah, I mean, that would make sense. It's interesting how they point out again that, the patterns of the ocean, the things that are happening on the island aren't normal. And it's always Saeed that points these things out.
Right. He's like, hey, just so you know, this place is super weird.
I liked his line where he said, some things are best left untranslated.
Oh, yeah. That was a good line.
It's interesting and ironic when they spend the whole episode translating after that.
That's true. I didn't think about that.
What do you think of him going back on what he said about the whispering? He was so crazed when he returned to camp, there's voices and there's people in the jungle, and now he's like, no, it's just the wind playing tricks on me.
Yeah, it made sense to me, because I feel like if I was in that situation, I was alone in the forest, and it was, night was coming on, and I heard all these things, but then when I came back to camp and was surrounded by people again, I would think I was a little crazy as well.
Sure. What I think is interesting is he's telling this to Jack, who has had a very similar experience in White Rabbit when he was hearing things and following his dead father around. Mm-hmm. So it's of all the people on the island, Jack should be the one that gets this and relates to it the most. And I mean, this just happens all the time in Lost, where you feel like if you guys just talked about this thing that you have both gone through, we could actually start figuring things out, but they never do.
Nope, they really don't.
I wish in this scene that Jack would be like, oh no, really, I heard voices one time too. You're not crazy.
Right.
But they're never gonna do that.
Of course they won't. That's so true. I forgot about how Jack had heard those voices in White Rabbit. Yeah, they totally should have bonded over that, but I guess not.
I think it was in that podcast that you told me to listen to with Damon Lindelof, where he said that this was the frequent problem they encountered on the show all the time. That if they had just communicated what they were all experiencing, everything would have been totally different.
Yeah, that's true. He did say that in that podcast episode.
'Cause that is so true. It would change the entire story if they just talked to each other.
Yeah, Lost would have been a season and a half. It would have been over.
Right.
Yeah, I feel like we have to remind ourselves of that I have to remind myself of that when I'm watching this so critically and picking apart every little detail.
Yeah.
Shannon is reading a magazine when Boone comes up and commends her on being so productive with her time. She says, "Where have you been?" Apparently, Boone and Locke have been going off all day together in the jungle for the past 4 days. Boone says they're still looking for Claire and that he's at least doing something, unlike Shannon. No one at camp takes them seriously, and everyone thinks they're a joke. Boone says to Shannon, "You're useless," and walks away.
Yeah, she may be useless, but at least she's not sabotaging us, Boone. Such a hypocrite.
Yeah, those two are just a hot mess.
They really are. She looks so hurt, too, when he tells her she's useless.
I I know, but I could kind of see his point because...
Oh, sure.
I love how, I feel like just to emphasize this point, we get a shot of literally everyone helping to move the luggage off the beach. And Shannon's just sitting in the middle of all of it, reading a magazine. It's like, oh, Shannon, come on.
I know. She is useless. I mean, I agree. It's just Boone, of all people, to point that out.
Yeah, that's true. That night, Kate is sitting by a fire when Sawyer walks by with a silver briefcase. We flash back to Kate, who is applying for a loan at a bank in New Mexico. The bank manager calls her Miss Ryan, and Kate tells him she's a photographer. Suddenly, a group of masked men with guns enters the bank. They fire a couple of shots into the air and knock out the police officer. Then they make everyone, including Kate, get on their hands and knees on the ground. One of the robbers tells the bank manager, whose name is Mark Hutton, to open the safe before anyone gets killed. It's interesting watching this, knowing what comes next for Kate.
Oh, yes. She is brilliant.
Yeah, she's a great liar.
It's all in the details.
Right. It's just like you were saying earlier, it's like Sawyer. Sawyer's also a good liar.
Yeah,
in the same way.
Their flashbacks in this episode and in Confidence Man are so similar.
Mm-hmm.
They are both con men, and they're both really good at it.
Yeah, really, really good at it.
Disturbingly good at it.
So interesting.
I just find Kate's backstory so wild and crazy. Of all the people on this island, I feel like her story, her flashbacks, could be a TV show in itself. It could just be like The Adventures of Kate, because she's just always doing something ridiculous like this.
Yeah, that's so true. That would be awesome.
I would watch that show.
Me too.
Can you imagine if she and Sawyer had known each other before the island and were pulling these cons together? They'd be unstoppable.
That would have been crazy.
That would be so entertaining.
Now I'm thinking about, more about Kate's backstory. We'll get the story later of kind of how she got to this point. Because you could argue, not to give spoilers, but they're both kind of victims of terrible situations.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like, I feel like Kate just has a different intent when she goes about these things. She's not trying to punish herself like Sawyer is. You know? Maybe? I don't know.
Yeah. No, I don't feel like she's trying to punish herself either. I think it's hard to talk about it, though, without knowing what she did or where all this came from. And I know we know because we've seen it. We've watched the show before, but it's hard, when we haven't gotten there yet.
Yeah, never mind. We'll get there.
We will. But I think you're right. They do both come from hardship and handle it in similar ways. Mm-hmm. Not exactly the same way.
Mm-hmm. Back on the beach, Kate enters Sawyer's tent. He's asleep with the briefcase between his legs. She tries to take it, but he wakes up and grabs her. After Sawyer jokes about sexual positions, Kate headbutts him, but is still unable to take the case. Kate tells Sawyer to give her the case. He says no, and Kate walks away.
Kate, dear, you brought this on yourself. You should not have given him the case if you wanted it this badly.
And you can see how badly she wants it.
Yes.
Just in her face.
Just the fact that she wants it that badly. Of course, he's completely intrigued by that.
Right. Yeah, she should have known Sawyer well enough at this point to know when she gave that case up that it was always going to be this hard to get it back from him, you know?
Right. She's trying to con him.
Yep. Oh, Kate. It's the next day, and Shannon is tanning on the beach. Because apparently, even though she's been living on an island for almost 3 weeks, she hasn't gotten enough sun. Saeed limps over to her and asks her for a favor. He wants her to try to translate the notes Rousseau wrote on the maps. Shannon asks him if her brother put him up to this, and Saeed says no. Shannon is reluctant, stating she barely speaks French, but Saeed asked her to try.
This is the beginning of such a lovely relationship.
Do you think this relationship is lovely? Because I've never really gotten it.
Really?
Yeah.
I shouldn't be surprised that we have totally different opinions about this. Yes, I do think it's lovely.
Wow.
I like Saeed seeing potential in her and like not dismissing her like everybody else is. And she's just like, nope, I can't do it. And he's like, I need you to try. And she's going to step up to that. I like when people make each other better. And I feel like Saeed makes Shannon better.
Yeah, but Shannon doesn't make Saeed better. I wish there was more of like a give and take.
Not in this episode.
Okay, I could be forgetting some stuff.
I don't think in this episode, but I like the connection between the two of them. It's just interesting. They have they're such different people and somehow they just work together.
Yeah, I don't know. I feel like they're almost, I don't want to say too different, but I almost feel like they get together because it's like, oh, you're hot, I'm hot. Let's be hot together. There's not a lot of choices on this island.
See, I just see we'll talk about it later, I guess, but in the scene where she's translating for him and he's just like staring at her, he just seems so intrigued by her. And part of that is just Naveen Andrews being awesome. But yeah, I just like see his wheels turning like, who is this girl? What is she about? It's
just hard because she's so young. And I just find it hard to believe. I mean, I guess because they're on the island, it's extenuating circumstances and lots of people get together who normally would never.
Your classic desert island scenario.
Right. But I just feel like most of what we've gotten from Shannon so far has been her being kind of selfish and just really naive and just young.
Yeah.
Like, I would say she's got to be like 20, 21 here, or at least that's the age I assume she's playing.
Right.
And Saeed has had such a different life, such different experiences, and he's also got to be at least 10 years older than her. I'm just like, other than the fact that you're both beautiful people, where is the connection here? I don't, like, what do you even talk about together?
Opposites attract, man. I think Jack and Kate are opposites. It just happens.
Yeah, I guess I just get more of the Jack and Kate connection.
Yeah. Well, we spend way more time with that. I think it's easier to see their connection. I mean, we'll talk about more as it happens. But yeah. I just like the two of them. They're both just really great actors too. That helps.
Yeah. I don't get it, but we'll see as it goes on.
I think Saeed's maturity kind of plays off her immaturity.
There's such a stark contrast to each other though, you know?
Yeah. Sometimes that's just the way it is.
Like, I'm just thinking in real life, I'm thinking back to when I was 20 and 21, that age, probably a little bit like Shannon, just very annoying, very naive, very obnoxious. And then I'm thinking about some guy who's in his like mid-30s. Like, what would we possibly have in common to talk about?
That's really funny because like I've never even thought about their age difference. Like, I never thought that was a thing that mattered. And it never occurred to me.
I guess it doesn't. And I looked it up because I was interested to see how far apart they were. And I think their ages in real life, they're like 13 years apart.
Uh-huh.
But then I also looked up Jack and Kate's ages and they're like 15 years apart. So I think it was like what Shannon said in that one early episode when she looked at Kate. She was like, what are you, like 3 years older than me?
It's their personalities.
Right. It is their personalities. Because Kate just seems so much older and more mature. Obviously, she's had many different experiences than Shannon. But,
right.
Do you know, it just kind of like tightens the gap between Jack and Kate. Whereas I feel like Shannon's youth really opens it up for me.
Yeah. She definitely seems much younger. She acts younger. It's just her immaturity.
Yeah. But anyway. Sawyer is trying to pick the lock on the case, but is having no luck. Michael and Walt walk by, and Michael states that picking the lock on a Halliburton case is impossible. Sawyer's pretty confident in his lock-picking skills, but when Hurley walks by and finds out what he's trying to do, he laughs. Michael tells Sawyer the only way to get the case open is to use brute force, like a sledgehammer or the axe.
I was surprised that Michael was just offering this advice to Sawyer. Like, hey, buddy, here's how to do it.
Yeah.
It feels like he really is part of the community now, whereas before he was the outsider. Like, when Kate pulled him in on the golf course, it seems to have really worked.
Yeah, I feel like that was a real turning point for him.
Yeah. And I mean, we've kind of noticed little moments where he's kind of been clicking with people in the last few episodes.
Mm-hmm.
But, yeah, I was just surprised by Michael.
Yeah, that's a good point. I'm trying to think, what do you think Sawyer imagines he's going to find when he opens that case?
God, I don't know. I mean, he says later, and I feel like it is his driving force, is he just has to know what it is because Kate cares about it so much.
Right.
And he's trying to figure Kate out.
Yeah, that's true. Boone is shown carrying the axe through the jungle. He brings it to Locke, and the two start to head off to the mysterious metal box they found. Locke asks Boone if anyone saw him take the axe, and after some thought, Boone says no. Locke says good, and they walk off.
This is such a paternal relationship.
Yeah, or like a mentor and mentee relationship.
Yeah. I just feel like he's just trying to teach Boone all these lessons. He's such a quotable freaking character, Locke.
Yeah, he really is.
I don't even remember what Boone said, but Locke was like, well, the easiest way isn't always the best way.
Mm-hmm, mm-hmm.
And then Boone's like, no, I don't think anybody saw me. And he's like, well, which is it? No, or I don't think so. He's just like, he's so nitpicky.
Yeah, Locke is so puzzling. Like, it's almost like he's picking people every week to kind of mentor.
Yeah,
like
he is. It's so fascinating.
It's just an interesting way to live your life.
And that's not the way he has lived his life until now. He's just so unbelievably changed by this experience. And I think he's just trying to encourage that kind of change in everybody around him and trying to help everyone get to where he is.
Right. He's fascinating. Rose walks by Charlie, dragging part of their camp up the beach. She says hello, but he doesn't say anything. However, Rose doesn't think this is an acceptable answer. She says Charlie has no right to be rude and that he's not the only person who has something to be sad about on the island. Charlie responds with, "Are you serious?" but eventually gets up and helps Rose to carry the luggage. So we haven't seen Rose for a while, right?
No, I don't think so. But I love her.
Yeah, she's great.
She can do no wrong.
Yeah, I like the parallel. I feel like in her earlier episodes, she was the one who was sitting by herself on the beach, not talking. And now she's reaching out to Charlie the way Jack kind of reached out to her.
Yeah, she's just like taking him under her wing, which is so nice. This is exactly what he needs.
Yeah.
Charlie's just a lost little bird in this episode.
Poor Charlie. Breaks my heart. Sawyer is using that brute force that Michael talked about earlier to try and open the case. After repeated failed attempts to break it open with rocks, he climbs a tree and throws the case from above. This also proves to be a failure, and before he can climb back down, Kate appears out of nowhere and steals the case. Sawyer chases her and eventually tackles her to the ground. He jokes about sex again and gets the case back. "I've got a proposition for you," he tells Kate. "If you tell me what's in the case, I'll let you have it." Sawyer says he just wants to satisfy his own curiosity at this point. However, Kate is as stubborn as he is and refuses to explain, and he walks away.
How many times can these two wind up on top of each other?
Right. And how many times is Sawyer going to make jokes about it before Kate punches him in the face?
It's just like nonstop.
It's ridiculous.
This scene is so entertaining. They are such kindred spirits.
Yeah, I mean, they definitely have some kind of connection.
Like, she just totally, I was gonna say, like, she conned him, but she didn't really con him. She played him.
Mm-hmm. She did. Also, the fact that this is, like you just said, the fifth scene where they fall on top of each other and Sawyer makes jokes and Kate punches him. This reminds me of Spike and Buffy so
yes
much. It's actually starting to scare me.
You love Spike and Buffy, don't you?
I do love them.
So funny.
So
it doesn't make any sense, Rady.
I know. Well, I was trying to figure it out because after this scene, I literally paused the episode and I was like, how can I hate Sawyer so much but love Spike so much when they're so similar? And I think it's because Spike doesn't have a soul. So the rules are completely different for him. Like, I have different expectations of him, you know?
Because Spike is the bad guy. And
right.
Sawyer's kind of some in-between thing.
Right, exactly.
Yeah.
That's what it is.
But Spike doesn't feel like the bad guy. Very rarely.
Yeah, but he's like introduced as the big bad.
Yeah, I mean, in the beginning he does. But like when he's her love interest, it's this weird confusion of, is this right or wrong? Right,
but it's almost like when he's going through that, whenever he has a moment where he's not being a monster, I'm like, oh, this good for you, Spike. Like, you're overcoming so much.
Right.
But with Sawyer, I'm like, don't start off being a monster. Like, you're a human being. What are you doing?
Interesting. It's still funny to me that you can hate one and love the other. I mean, yeah. I know you don't hate Sawyer, but dislike one and love the other.
I know. I really do.
They're both just charming as hell, too. That really helps.
Yeah. They're both very funny. In a flashback, the main robber is trying to get the bank manager to give him the key to the money cage. He's refusing, saying he'll just kill him anyway. Down on the floor, a guy sitting next to Kate tells her he can take one of the robbers out. He jumps up and goes after a guy who's not paying attention, making him drop his gun. The gun slides over to Kate. She picks it up and tries to shoot, but the safety is on. She yells that she doesn't know how to use a gun, and the main robber grabs it from her. He throws her in a back room and shuts the door. He takes off his mask, looks at Kate, and they both start to laugh about Kate's lie of not being able to use a gun. They start to make out pretty aggressively, and the scene ends.
I like how he says, I don't know how to use a gun. That's classic. Because it really is. That's like classic Kate. She's already said that in the show before.
Yeah, she has.
She clearly just goes to that time and time again.
Yeah.
She knows how she looks.
It's a good twist.
She's sweet and innocent looking.
Yeah, exactly. And she plays it so well.
It is a great twist. I did not see it coming when I watched this for the first time. I remember being surprised.
Me too.
I think because, you know, we've known she's on the run and we've known that she is wanted for some crime, but we don't know what that crime is or whether she really did it or not. And based on the Kate we know, it doesn't seem like she actually would have done something so bad. And so then when we see that she's actually in on this bank robbery, it's very startling because you're like, oh crap, maybe she is bad.
Right. That's such a good point because yeah, at this point I had just assumed that whatever happened to make the marshal come after her was like an accident or a mistake or something.
Even just like laughing at the deceit that they just pulled off, like proud that they got away with their con. It's so startling. It's not Kate at all. At least
it's not
the Kate we know.
Oh, goodness. On the beach, Shannon is helping Saeed to translate the French notes. She says again that she can't do this, but Saeed encourages her. Saeed asks her where she learned to speak French, and she admits she knew this guy when she lived in France. The two smile, and Shannon agrees to try again. Again, I can see them as friends, but together, I don't know.
I think Naveen Andrews is what sells me on this because he's just an acting genius.
Yeah.
And the way he looks at Shannon while she talks, and he just like puts his chin on his hand and he looks almost like he's daydreaming, just like listening to her. It's so fascinating. And I don't know what it is about her that seems to suck him in, but
because she's hot. Because she's gorgeous.
She is gorgeous, but I just don't feel like Saeed is that shallow.
Yeah, it's true. Yeah, it's just, she's so distractingly, like, perfect. Just the way she looks. So I feel like...
I hope that that's not all it is. I like to think better of Saeed than that.
I mean, I do too, but I feel like it's part of her. You know what I mean? It's part of her that's very distracting.
Yeah, that's true.
And she plays it like, maybe she's not doing it in this scene, but I feel like whenever, like when she was tricking Charlie into helping her catch a fish earlier in this season, like she knows what she's doing. She knows how gorgeous she is. She uses it all the time.
Yeah, she definitely does.
But anyway.
I really enjoy them.
Yeah, I don't hate it. I just have never gotten it.
Yeah.
But that's fine. At the caves, Jack approaches Sun and asks her to explain or mime the different ways she uses her plants to cure illnesses. They are interrupted by Kate, who tells Jack, "We have a problem." With Sun listening in the background, she explains that when the marshal was escorting her from Australia, they wouldn't let him take the silver case on the plane and made him check it. The case had some traveling money, personal stuff, and 4 9mm guns with ammo. Unfortunately, Sawyer has the case now. Kate tells Jack he'll eventually figure out a way to open it, and they have to get it back before that happens. She says the marshal kept a key in his wallet in his back pocket. When Jack says he buried the marshal, Kate asks where. Jack looks at her and says what else is in the case. Kate plays dumb and says nothing. Jack agrees to help, but says they will open the case together, and Kate agrees.
I love Sun in this scene, just kind of quietly in the background, listening to everything they say.
Yeah, it's a nice detail. We haven't seen her in a while, I feel like.
No, she's just quietly building the island pharmacy from scratch. A little busy.
She's great.
Jack and Kate are so interesting. There's just no trust between the two of them. And there shouldn't be. I mean, there's no reason for there to be any trust, but it's sad.
There is, though, because I feel like they've built them up all throughout, like, the first 7 or 8 episodes. They've had all these little moments. I feel like they immediately trust each other from day one. And now with this, like, when Jack says to Kate, "We have a problem," or "You have a problem," like, it just seems so hostile and unnecessary. I don't know where this is coming from.
He was like that in the last episode too, though.
Right, but I feel like that made more sense because of the situation they were under. They were trying to find Claire and Charlie. It's been a few days since then, and they're not going on this crazy hike through the jungle, following Ethan, who's a psycho. Like, I don't know why he's still acting like this toward her. Right. Yeah. Do you know what I mean?
I do. I mean, this is, I don't want to get on a Jack bashing tangent, but he just does this a lot where he just leaps to conclusions, and he has leapt to a conclusion with Kate that everything she says is untrustworthy, even when it's not. So he just approaches every conversation with her like that. And I don't know why that started, because he did it a lot in the last episode, and he's done it a little before that, but there was no, like, catalyst for it. I mean, obviously the mugshot, but they, like, kind of resolved that, you know? Because she was like, "Oh, here, I'll tell you what I did." And he was like, "No, it's fine. We all get a blank slate." But then it just doesn't seem like that's true. Like, he's not acting that way.
Right. It seemed like that was true for a while, and then we've completely reversed all of that, all of the lovely moments they've had together.
Right.
And it makes me really mad.
Yeah, it's very confusing.
Yeah.
Is he just mad because she chose to live at the beach? Because I feel like that's the only other rift they've had between them.
I don't know. I mean, he seems to be a little sick of, I guess, how little he knows about Kate. And I mean, in Jack's defense, she is lying to him this whole time.
Yes.
So,
but she hasn't been before this.
Right.
So it's kind of like a chicken and egg situation.
Yeah, I don't know. I would love to have been in the writer's room when they made this decision to go down this path with them. Because like I've said, up until this point, I mean, they met in episode 1. There's immediate trust. They go on their hike through the jungle. You know, they've had all these lovely little moments where they've been standing on the beach talking about sinking, on and on and on. And then they've just kind of completely reversed all that in the space of like 2 or 3 episodes.
Well.
And I don't understand why.
She did make out with Sawyer. Maybe he's mad. Maybe he's like been noticing her having these moments with him too.
That's possible. I feel like she hasn't had nearly as many moments with Sawyer, but...
She hasn't kissed Jack.
Right, but she punched Sawyer straight afterwards, so I don't know if that really even counts as anything.
I think that Jack would be annoyed still. But in general, yeah, I agree with you. I'm just looking for any reason why he might be so hostile, because he's really aggressive towards her, and not just in this episode.
Yeah, and maybe he is thinking about the fact that she kissed Sawyer, but...
It would be nice for him to, like, say something like this, or, like, give us any indication that that's what he's thinking of, because we're really just filling in gaps for him.
Right, well, even if that is the case, I feel like that's such a petty response to that.
Yeah.
Like, Jack's better than that, I feel like, at this point.
I don't think he's better than that.
I think he is. I think he's proved time and time again that he's much better than that. But, I don't know.
They have a weird back and forth, those two. It's not a healthy relationship.
I know, and they do this all the time. Like, they'll have a big blow up like this, and then in a few episodes, they'll be back to being cute and sweet, and it'll be fantastic. And then they'll have another situation, and it all goes downhill. Why do I like this couple?
I don't know.
Okay, I was just kidding, but like, it's just so... I don't know. I don't know how to describe my feelings toward them, but this episode leaves me so conflicted. All of their scenes.
Because you just enjoy the good scenes so much, and all their negative scenes are just let the air out of your tires.
Right. I feel like if they just talked about things in a different way, they have such a connection. Like, to me, they obviously belong together. I just don't see why they can't make that happen.
Yeah.
Everything has to be so hard with them.
These are the moments that make it hard to say that they definitely belong together.
I mean, I would argue that they do, but...
Just for argument's sake. This is their struggle. They don't trust each other. Mm-hmm. And it's not without reason. I mean, in this situation right now, Kate is lying to him.
Yeah, I don't know.
He doesn't know that for sure, but he certainly assumes that that is what she would do.
Right.
And that's kind of... Another thing I don't like is I want him to see, you know, the good in her and like expect her to be good. I feel like that's what the healthier relationships on this island are doing right now. Like Charlie and Claire, like they're definitely looking out for each other and being protective and seeing good traits in each other. And even, it hasn't really happened yet, but even Saeed is pulling out like the good in Shannon. But they're like so focused on the negative with each other.
I mean, yeah, in this episode.
Often. The good moments happen and I wish that they would stop and enjoy them. But they never do.
I don't know.
I'm sorry. My condolences to you.
Yeah, you don't sound very sorry. It's just, you know, I wish Jack wasn't being like this. And then I also wish Kate wasn't lying to him. I don't really understand why she feels like she has to lie to him. Jack already knows about Kate's past, so I don't understand why she couldn't have just said, there's something in there that's really personal to me.
Yeah.
That's it.
Yeah, that's what she should have done.
Right. It's not like it's even like a letter explaining what she did.
Right.
I mean, Jack doesn't know when he sees it later. He doesn't know what that thing means. It's just...
She just can't. It's too vulnerable. And she can't be vulnerable.
Yeah, I suppose.
It's just, I mean, that's the same problem Sawyer has. I Neither of them like to be vulnerable.
Yeah. It's not great for them. It doesn't go well for either of them.
No. I mean, you're never going to connect with anyone if you don't let your guard down.
Yeah, that's true.
Kate just has a horrible problem with that. She can't do that.
Mm-hmm.
And we still don't know why, but we see it happening all the time.
Yeah. Oh, now I'm depressed. Let's move on from this.
Yes, let's.
Charlie and Rose are continuing to move the luggage up the beach. Rose is smiling, and Charlie informs her there is absolutely nothing to be happy about. He says they're on a desert island, no one is coming to rescue them, there's a monster in the jungle that eats people, and that there are other people on the island trying to hurt them. Rose interrupts him, telling Charlie that it wasn't his fault Claire got taken, and that no one blames him. Charlie looks devastated, and says that maybe he should have died, but Rose tells him to ask for help. Charlie doesn't know who is going to help him.
So nice.
The look on Charlie's face when Rose starts talking about Claire, it's so heartbreaking.
Yes. I just love her getting right to the essence of it, just ignoring everything else he's saying, and she's just like, nobody blames you, Charlie, because she knows that that's what he's feeling.
Mm-hmm. Jack and Kate come up to the lone grave of the marshal. Kate asks Jack why he didn't burn the marshal's body with the ones in the fuselage, and Jack says, because I needed to bury him. Back at the bank, the head bank robber asks Kate if she's ready to do this. She tells him not to hold back, and that the details are important. He hits her across the face, and drags Kate, or Maggie, which is what he calls her, back to the main room of the bank. He throws her to the ground, points a gun at her, and tells the bank manager he's got 3 seconds to give him the key to the vault, or he'll shoot Kate. The manager relents and agrees to give up the key, and is dragged to the back.
I found it pretty convenient that they didn't burn the marshal with everybody else, but I thought Jack's reasoning that he needed to bury him was so completely Jack. I totally buy it.
Yeah, me too. Because that was his patient who died, so it makes sense to me.
Yeah, he had to work through that.
Yeah.
I don't see why why Kate needs Jack's help with this. I don't see why she doesn't just do this by herself.
That's a good point.
That would solve all her problems here.
Yeah, maybe she's thinking if she at least is upfront with Jack about some of it. Like, it would look weird, I guess, if she... Or, I don't know.
It doesn't make any sense. It's just like this weird way to pull Jack into this story.
I mean, I guess she figures she needs Jack to help get the case from Sawyer eventually. Right? Because she's already tried to do it and it hasn't worked.
But why would she think Jack would do a better job than her? She's the one who's had much better luck getting things from Sawyer.
That's true.
I guess Jack would be the person most annoyed that Sawyer had something. I don't know. It just, I see this whole thing with her getting this case as something that she wants to do by herself. Like, she doesn't want Sawyer involved. She doesn't want Jack involved. So, like, stop involving them.
Yeah, but I guess it's almost like she's tried to get on her own to get the case from Sawyer, and that's obviously not working. And she needs someone to help her. And since Jack already knows about her past, I guess it's like a no-brainer that she would go to him.
I guess. I just think she would maybe try a different tactic and not bring Jack to go get the key.
Yeah, that's true.
Not if you don't want him to see what's in the case.
Yeah, that's true. Why would she tell him exactly what's in there, supposedly, and then plan to go with him and then take the key and then go and steal the case back from Sawyer later? That's kind of strange.
Yeah, exactly. So just go get the key by yourself and then find a way to get the case. However, you don't need to tell anyone else about the key, and then just open it, take the thing you want, and then close it and be like, hey, I found the key. Let's open it. You know?
Yeah, well, maybe, I mean, she didn't know where the marshal's wallet was. So she had to ask Jack for that piece of information.
I thought, she didn't know where he was buried.
Right.
That's the missing piece.
I guess. Right? Yeah.
I think that sounds right.
Yeah. It's still a little strange, though. I agree.
That helps a lot, though. Like, if she had thought maybe he was burned with all the other bodies and Jack was like, no, I had to bury him. Like, that would make sense for her to need to know where he buried her.
Right, exactly. Jack and Kate dig up the marshal's body, and from their reactions, the smell must be truly horrible. Kate grabs the wallet, opens it, but immediately drops it as it's covered in maggots. Jack takes the wallet and searches it, but doesn't find the key. Kate acts surprised, but Jack accuses her of distracting him with the wallet while she took the key. Sure enough, he grabs her wrist, and when she opens her hand, the key is lying there. Jack takes the key. Kate looks upset, Jack looks angry, and he walks away. I don't like this at all.
What don't you like?
Again, Kate, why did you have to lie like this to Jack? I just wish she had trusted him a little bit more.
Yeah, it's hard. Neither of them can trust the other one.
Yeah, and I get, because Jack looks so angry at the end of this scene, and I get it. I feel like he's thinking, you asked me to help you dig up the body of the patient that I couldn't save, which is obviously a very difficult situation for me. And then you lie to me about the reason why and try and trick me about the key. Like, I get why he's upset. And I wish she hadn't lied to him like that.
Yeah, I know. That's why I just wish she hadn't involved him. I guess she had to. She clearly just wants to do this by herself, and she can't.
Yeah. Shannon is struggling to translate the notes in French for Saeed, but they don't seem to be making much sense. Saeed is frustrated, especially when Shannon mentions that the notes seem familiar. He says she's been talking about nonsense for the last hour. Shannon points out that these notes might sound crazy because after 16 years of living alone, Rousseau probably is crazy. Saeed claims this was all a mistake, and Shannon confers, stating, "Haven't you heard? I'm completely useless." She runs away, looking upset.
I felt like that reaction from Saeed was a little dramatic. Like, oh, this was all a mistake because this doesn't make sense to me.
Yeah, maybe a little bit.
I feel like just a valid point that this was written by a somewhat crazy person.
Yeah, or that's true. I can see why Saeed would be getting frustrated, though.
Yeah, definitely.
Just the way she's talking about it, it's like, oh, I think this is what this means. Maybe not. It's like, oh.
It's just weird because I always see him as so level-headed. And I'm like, why are you freaking out? Calm down. He just seems to be like the guy who works through things, not who goes, why did I even bother? You know, like.
That's true. He didn't really want to translate those documents in the first place, it sounds like. Like when he was talking to Jack earlier, he seemed kind of reluctant, so.
Oh, that's true. He did. I wonder, it's so weird though. Why? He's so like interested in Rousseau. I guess he's just so freaked out.
Right. That's what I would think.
And Shannon finding only weird things, I guess, is just freaking him out more.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's just so hurt when she's like, haven't you heard? I'm completely useless. And she's crying.
Yeah, I mean, at least she was trying in this scene.
Yeah.
It's kind of sad.
She was trying.
Yeah.
And it's not like she was wrong.
True. Jack approaches Sawyer and tells him to give up the case. Sawyer asks Jack why he would just give it to him for absolutely nothing in return. But once Jack threatens to stop giving Sawyer the antibiotics for the knife wound in his arm, he changes his mind. Sawyer asks Jack, "Did she tell you what's in it?" And Jack shakes his head. Before he leaves, Sawyer tells Jack that whatever Kate told him to get his help, she lied.
True. But we already know that.
We sure did.
Everybody's lying to everybody. Let's just establish that.
Yeah. I wish Sawyer would have just handed it over. Like he gave Hurley the plain manifest, but.
Well, he knows Kate's making him and he wants to know what's in it.
That's true.
Like how he says, even if that were true about the antibiotics, I don't think you could do it. Because I think he's right. I don't think Jack would actually do that. And I think Sawyer knows that.
Yeah, I'm not sure at this point what Jack would do to Sawyer. But maybe you're right.
Assuming that Sawyer does believe that, it's interesting that he gives him the case anyway.
Mm-hmm. He's probably just not completely sure, so better to be on the safe side.
Right.
Kate is sitting on the beach when Jack walks over with the case. He tells Kate they're going to do this together. When Kate asks him why, He says because that's what he said they would do.
Duh. He kind of said that from the beginning. I don't know why you're so surprised.
Yeah. You can tell he does not like being lied to by Kate.
What does she expect him to do? Just like walk off?
Yeah, I know.
Here you go. I know I like wanted to see it before, but now I don't care.
Right.
After all the lying to me. You know, whatever. Have whatever you want.
And making me dig up the marshal's body and all that mess. It's
fine. Enjoy the guns.
Yeah.
You know, I read originally in the script there was also a Snickers bar in the case, and that Jack was supposed to go back and give it to Sawyer.
What?
I thought that would have been so funny.
That would have been so completely random.
Well, like Sawyer was supposed to be like, so what was in the case? And Jack just like hands him the Snickers bar, and then Sawyer's like, oh.
So that's what Kate really wanted all this time, was the Snickers bar. That's hilarious.
I know. I wonder why they cut that. I guess it just kind of killed the tension.
Yeah, probably. In a flashback, the bank manager opens the vault and the robbers start to grab the cash. He tells them they got what they wanted. Now they can let the girl go. The main robber, whose name is Jason, laughs and says this whole thing was the girl's idea. She picked the bank and everything. Jason takes off his ski mask and goes to kill the bank manager, saying he's cleaning up after himself. Kate grabs a gun and points it at Jason. She didn't want anyone to get hurt. Before Jason can shoot the manager, Kate shoots him in the leg and shoots 2 of the other robbers. She then asks the manager for the key to safe deposit box 815. When she opens the box, a blank envelope is inside.
Jason is an idiot. Why on earth would he do this? This makes no sense.
Yeah, I mean, he's robbing a bank, so I guess he's not the smartest guy to begin with.
I mean, being a criminal doesn't make you dumb, but like this guy definitely is. The manager was like, let the girl go. And he just freaked out just from that one sentence. He was like, let the girl go. The girl planned all of this. The girl is the reason this whole thing is happening. And then he takes his mask off and I just like, why would you throw away the whole plan because the guy said, let the girl go? Of course he's going to say that. What did you expect him to say?
Yeah, it's almost like he's too arrogant to just let that comment go. He's like, oh, I've got to tell you about how great our plan really was. You didn't even see it coming. You didn't suspect anything about Kate, you know?
But it was Kate's plan, so it's like, it can't be arrogance, because he didn't think of this plan. She did.
Right, I guess just arrogant in the way that he's not gonna let, I don't know. Maybe you're right.
He's not gonna let the guy, like, think the wrong thing. Right. I don't know. It's just so stupid. Like,
it is very stupid.
I just don't understand. Kate, you needed to find a better guy to back you up on this.
Yeah. She was clearly in a hurry when she picked these guys.
Yeah. The stupidity just drives me crazy. I don't see why anyone would ever do that.
Yeah.
Like, let me just reveal my identity while I'm committing this felony. What?
It's crazy.
Anyway, I do like how Kate pulls one over on the guys who she is pulling one over on other people with.
Yeah, she shoots like 3 people. No problem.
Yeah, girl definitely does know how to use a gun. Yeah. That's now a well-established fact.
Yeah. And I guess we should mention that box number, the safe deposit box number is 815.
Of course.
Which is the same as the flight number.
Here come the numbers.
Yeah.
They will now be everywhere.
That's true. At the caves, Jack asks Kate if she has anything she wants to tell him before they do this, but she shakes her head. He opens the case to find money, boxes of ammo, the guns, and a package entitled Personal Effects. He opens it to find the blank envelope that Kate pulled out of the safe deposit box. Jack hands it to Kate, who opens it and pulls out a small toy plane. Kate is obviously upset and tells Jack that it's nothing, but he demands an honest answer. Kate yells, "It belonged to the man I loved. It belonged to the man I killed." She breaks down and starts crying. Jack looks on, then packs up the case and walks away. The scene is heartbreaking. I can't. Every time I watch it, like, I feel like a little piece of me just dies. It's so sad.
It is. I find it frustrating.
In what way?
Just Kate's line about how it belonged to the man I loved, the man I killed. It's just said so dramatically, and Jack has been wondering this whole time what you did. Mm-hmm. And now you say this, and of course he now is going to think you're a murderer.
Right.
And that's like, we know later that that's not what she means here.
Right.
So it just frustrates me the way she phrases this, because it just doesn't make sense other than to mislead Jack.
Yeah, that's a good point. And neither of them, or she doesn't offer any type of explanation after it.
This scene just seems so designed to push Jack away. And I don't want to spoil, but this is not exactly what she means. Like,
right. It's not.
And so I just hate when characters say something like this. And of course the other character is going to interpret it literally, and they don't mean it that way. Like, this phrase itself, I feel like gets used all the time in shows. Like, it's the person who I killed them. It's my fault. And you're like,
right.
Yeah, you did. You killed that person. But really, like, something else happened and they just kind of feel responsible or whatever it is, you know?
Exactly. She should have said, after she said that, let me clarify that point I just made. It's not actually what I meant.
Or just, if she had said something like, it belonged to the man I lost or something. I don't know. He died because of me is definitely, that's a feeling like that somebody could have for a lot of reasons. To say that you killed him, obviously, especially when you have a mugshot lying around, people are going to think you killed somebody, literally.
Exactly. Especially when at the end of Tabula Rasa, when they were sitting on the beach, and Kate tells Jack, I want to tell you what I did. Like, how did we go from there to here where she's yelling, it belonged to the man I killed? Like, what?
Well, now Jack is like, oh, now I know what she did.
Right. Yeah. It's just, obviously, I mean, this scene should have played out in a completely different way, and it wouldn't have been this frustrating.
It's so much miscommunication.
It is. I don't know. This is, I mean, it's like an ugly part of their relationship that I don't like, but it is what it is. It has to be acknowledged, I feel like.
Right.
You know, just like all their good parts, or the parts that I enjoy. Mm-hmm. But it's just sad. And just, at the end of the scene, I'm just mad at both of them.
Yeah.
You know?
Yeah.
Like, I'm mad at Jack for yelling at her, not apologizing. I'm mad at Kate for lying. Like, it's the whole thing is just a mess.
Yep.
This is why I never rewatch this episode, because it makes me sad.
That's so funny.
Anyway, the group at the beach moves their camp to a new, safer location, with Vincent and Walt leading the way. Which I thought was weird, because I thought, weren't Walt and Michael living at the caves at this point?
Yeah. But I think everyone joined in to move the beach.
Okay, so they're not actually living there, they're just helping move stuff.
I assumed so. I assumed that a lot of people were here. Like, Hurley was supposed to be at the caves too, but he's helping.
Yeah, I didn't remember seeing Hurley in this scene, but I could have missed him, so you're right.
I don't remember in this scene, but earlier when Sawyer's trying to open the case on the beach, Hurley was there.
Yeah.
And Michael.
This just seems like an official moving of the beach camp. And I'm seeing like Saeed, Shannon, all the people who have been living at the beach this whole time. And then there's Michael and Walt and Vincent. I'm like, wait, what?
Yeah. Maybe they moved.
Maybe. I don't know. Night comes, and Charlie finds Rose sitting beside a fire. He asks her about her husband, who is in the tail section of the plane. Rose firmly believes that he'll come back, and says she knows that he's still alive. She says there's a fine line between denial and faith, and that she prefers the faith side of things. Charlie starts to sob and tells Rose to help me. She takes his hand and starts to pray out loud.
Their storyline in this episode is perfection.
It really is.
It's so beautiful. And Charlie crying and asking her to help him is so sad.
It is. Oh, their connection is great. I love watching the two of them together.
Yeah. And I like the callback to Charlie's connection with religion.
Yeah, that is a nice callback.
He is definitely a man of faith.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, and I imagine if you've gone through what Charlie has gone through in the past few days / weeks, it'd be nice to put your faith in the higher power for a little while, you know?
Sure. Or Rose.
Yeah, that too.
Mama Rose coming to the rescue.
Shannon finds Saeed on the beach. She tells him that when she stayed in France with the guy from Saint-Tropez, he had a kid who hated her. Every day he would watch the same movie that was dubbed in French. It was a cartoon about fish, and there was a song at the end. Rousseau's notes are actually song lyrics, and Saeed asks her what the song is. She starts to sing. It's a nice quiet moment until we get a super creepy shot of Boone watching them from the shadows.
It is so creepy.
It's made me laugh for a good 5 minutes. Don't know why, but
every time I see this scene, I just like revel in how beautiful she sounds singing that song. Like she's a good singer, and the French is so lovely. And then boom,
I know,
just ruins the moment.
Looking like a serial killer straight out of a horror movie.
He's been watching Ethan.
Yeah, clearly. Like if I watched a scene with no context, what else was going on in the show, I'd be like, oh yeah, Boone is definitely going to murder the two of them at some point.
Yeah.
Like, the look on his face is ridiculous.
Yeah. What do you feel like he is responding to here?
Just the fact that she's obviously going closer with Saeed.
Yeah.
He's jealous.
Yeah, it seems like such a leap for him to see Shannon, like, talking with a guy. And to just, what else is she going to be doing? There's other people on this island. She's going to talk to them.
Right.
It's so dramatic.
It is. It is a leap, but I feel like it's very in character for the two of them thus far.
Right.
You know?
They are dramatic people.
Yeah. But yeah, I just love that we get this lovely song from her, and
yeah,
Boone ruins it with his look of death. It's hilarious. But yeah, I can kind of see the connection between Saeed and Shannon in this scene. Just a little bit.
Yeah. Well, because Shannon's not acting like a petulant child.
Right. Exactly.
And I mean, I think in every scene they had in this episode, like there's the scene where he approached her, and then the scene where they're working together, and then this, she was kind of like a little more mature in each scene.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, it's a nice build up, actually.
It's nice to see her step up and defy what Boone is saying about her, that she is useless.
Mm-hmm.
And before she went and had to go con Charlie into getting a fish for her, now she's actually doing something helpful, something that only she can do.
Right. Good point.
I like it. I like Shannon and Saeed.
Yeah.
I like the contrast of basically the most useful person on the island with the least useful.
It's really exactly like that.
They're really interesting.
Yeah. Yeah, we'll see if they continue to grow in me. I don't know.
I think theirs is a relationship that is easy to ignore in a way. It doesn't get a lot of focus.
Yeah, that's a good point.
So we'll just have to give it some focus.
Yeah. I don't know. We'll see. We'll see what happens. In the last shot, Jack walks by Kate, who is sitting by a fire. He stops and looks at her, but doesn't say anything and continues walking. Kate is holding the toy airplane in her hand and staring at it, mesmerized. And with that, we cut to the credits. Oh, just go over there, Jack, and talk to her. How hard is that?
It's so hard for them.
I know.
This reminds me of the end of Confidence Man, when they're around the fire and Sawyer's holding the letter. And remember, you were like, just burn it. Burn it.
Yeah.
And she's holding her plane, and she can't let go of that.
That's a good point. Oh, I didn't even see that parallel.
They both have like their token item.
Mm-hmm.
And that item is the thing that ties them to their past. The thing that they can't let go of.
They should burn them together.
They should. But they can't do it.
Oh, God.
And they both have like so much guilt surrounding their stories. It's just they're so fascinating. They're such good mirrors of each other.
Yeah, they're very similar, for sure.
I just had never noticed the parallels between this and Confidence Man before.
Yeah.
I've always seen like the two of them as similar characters, just not so literally.
Yeah, and like you said, Damon Lindelof wrote or helped write both of those episodes, so
right.
That's got to be one of the reasons for it.
Yeah, it has to be intentional. There's too much for it to be a coincidence.
Yeah. So, did you come up with a theme for this episode?
I did. I actually found it hard again.
I did too.
I think because it's some of it is just stuff that we've already touched on before, and that's why it was hard. But my question was, what is the cost of lying? Because it just seems like that is the problem that Kate is having left and right in this episode, is all because of all her lying.
Mm-hmm.
And I don't think it's just a cost of like, obviously she loses Jack's trust, which she didn't seem to have in the first place, but it's like definitely gone now.
Yeah.
But it's also costing her something too. And you can tell just like by all the grief she has, like telling Jack, you know, sort of what she did. She's lying so much, and like in Confidence Man, Sawyer was lying so much, and they just, at the end of the episode, they're both alone, and they're paying the price for all the lying and manipulation.
Yeah, paying a high price.
Right.
Yeah, that's interesting.
And Boone is lying to Shannon.
Oh, yeah, that's a good point.
So when he comes back and sees her, like, having a good time with Saeed, I feel like he's losing his closeness with her.
Oh, yeah. Oh, I like that. That's a lot better than what I came up with.
What did you come up with?
I wrote that, I don't know if this makes a lot of sense, but I wrote that a possible theme could be forgiveness, and that you could kind of theorize that Kate is trying to forgive herself for killing the man she loves, as she says. I mean, we don't get any details about that situation yet, but she's kind of struggling with that. And then Charlie's also struggling to forgive himself for what happened to Claire. And Rose is able to help him with this.
Aww.
So it's like Charlie comes out definitely better of the two of them, because he has Rose to help him.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, that was the problem I had with mine, actually, was that I couldn't connect it to Charlie. And his is like a really small story, but it's significant.
Yeah, well, I couldn't connect mine to Shannon or Boone. So yeah, I struggled this week too, coming up with that theme.
It was hard to connect all of them. I don't feel like there is a solid theme that connects to all three of those big stories.
Yeah. And I actually wrote down after the forgiveness thing, I was like, something about lying? So that's what you came up with, which is funny.
That is funny. Yeah, I had thought about forgiveness in regard to Charlie and Faith. Mm-hmm. But I couldn't write just Faith because so many times in the show they talk about faith that I just don't feel like this isn't as hit you over the head with it as so many other episodes are.
Yeah. Yeah, they're going to talk about that a lot more in later episodes as well.
I think you wrote forgiveness because you wanted Jack to forgive Kate.
I really did. I really did.
Keep wishing.
Oh man, if I had been writing the show, their relationship would have been so boring to everyone.
And then you wouldn't have loved it so much.
I know, that's true.
If it's not interesting, you'll just be like, eh.
Yeah, I'll have to keep telling myself that when my heart is breaking into a million pieces like it is in this episode.
So I looked up Kate's name and
okay,
didn't really get anywhere. Catherine means pure. That's what I learned.
Okay.
I don't really feel like that fits Kate at all.
No, I don't either.
But Austin, that suits her because I just always connect her to the South.
Yeah. Yeah, me too.
Her and all those Patsy Cline songs.
Mm-hmm.
But yeah, no names of note in this episode, sadly.
Yeah, now I want like a Southern drama like you were saying before, starring Kate and Sawyer, where they just go out and con people.
Yes, that would be such a brilliant episode. Oh,
very entertaining.
Brilliant TV show.
Yeah.
I would love it. And they're so fun together.
They are.
I wrote somebody else's question again. Remember how I did this last time? I found like somebody else's thing online. This person said it was interesting that Sawyer only wants to know what is in the case, but Jack demands ownership and control of the case. Why do you think that is?
What do you mean when you say Jack demands ownership and control of the case?
I mean, I just literally copied them word for word.
Okay.
I did. But first of all, I don't feel like he demanded ownership of it.
Yeah.
But he did take it, you know? He said we were going to open it together, which is all fine. And then she takes her plane and he takes everything else.
Well, yeah.
So I guess in a way he demands ownership just by taking it.
But he left her, I mean, the only thing that she really wanted, which was that plane.
Yeah.
What was he going to leave her with the 4 guns and be like, why don't you take care of this?
Not when she's saying she's killed people.
Exactly. She lied to him.
Yeah. I just thought that was an interesting discussion question.
No, it is interesting. Because, yeah, Sawyer's much more about satisfying his own curiosity.
I feel like she really could have just told Sawyer what it was and why she wanted it, and he would have been fine. And Jack would have needed to see it. I don't think he would have trusted her enough to believe anything she said.
Like, she could have just told Sawyer about the plane, or like her whole background and how she was...
The plane.
Okay.
Like, I think that would have been enough.
Yeah, maybe.
And maybe part of that is that Sawyer is so good at lying that he would understand whether she was lying or not, and Jack maybe wouldn't, and that's why he doesn't trust her as much.
Right. Or maybe he's just, I mean, he is the only one who knows about her mugshot at this point.
Yeah.
So maybe that's kind of a factor.
True. I also thought that it was interesting that in both her flashback and on the island, she needs a key, like the whole time. That's what she's searching for. And she gets both of them by conning somebody.
Oh, wow. That's an interesting parallel. I didn't even pick up on that.
I don't know what that means, but...
Yeah, all these little details make me realize that this episode is well written, I think. Like, there's a lot going on, and it ties together pretty well.
Yeah. It would have been nice for, like, some of the storylines to thematically connect a little closer, but...
Right.
Charlie is just dealing with something completely different, and it makes sense for him to be kind of on a different page.
Yeah. I have very complicated feelings toward this episode.
I'm sure you do.
It's pretty good, but I don't want to watch it again anytime soon.
You just don't want to deal with the heartbreak anymore.
Really don't.
Maybe next week things will get better for them, but probably not.
Yeah, probably not. They can't get much worse, though, So that's going to do it for this episode of Freckles and Blondie. Remember, if you're enjoying the show, don't forget to go over to iTunes and leave us a review. If you've gotten this far in the show, you definitely have 5 minutes to spare to leave us a review, and we really appreciate it.
Really.
Also, if you have thoughts about anything to do with Lost, you can email us at randy@thelostpodcast.com or tiffany@thelostpodcast.com. And don't forget to follow us on Facebook and Instagram. And don't forget also to join us next week when we'll be discussing episode 13, which is called Hearts and Minds, which is all about Boone and Shannon. And that episode, if I remember correctly, is crazy. So
I think I remember it being that way too.
Yeah.
But it's so needed. We need to know what's going on with these two after all this time.
Yeah, we definitely do. So until then, I'm Randy.
And I'm Tiffany.
And this has been Freckles and Blondie.